What's up everybody, welcome back to my channel. In this video, we're going to be going over exactly how I purchased my first rental property in college with no job and barely any money. And let me tell you something, you could do it too. Just a few short years ago, I was playing college basketball and had no idea what I wanted to be in life. I was enjoying college life and just thought I would figure it out along the way. I always was a motivated person and hardworking. Growing up, I would always try to start businesses and I was very creative. Some of my businesses were successful and some weren't. The one thing I always knew was that the idea of a 9-to-5 job for the next 40 years was not what I wanted to do. So although I was fortunate enough to be getting my college paid for by basketball, I was not taking advantage of that when it came to my education. As funny as it sounds, the thing that changed my whole trajectory in life was a 15-second Instagram story. Yes, you heard that right. During my junior year of college, one of my former basketball teammates actually put on his Instagram story a video of his triplex that he had just purchased. He planned on living in one of the units and actually renting out the other two. And the best part about it was he was actually going to be living for free because the income he generated from the other two units would actually pay for the mortgage and all expenses for that triplex every single month. He also mentioned in that video a couple of real estate benefits and that a ton of wealthy people actually invest in real estate. To say the least, I was hooked and I wanted to find out as much as I could on real estate. After I reached out to him and asked how I can get better educated on real estate, he recommended that I actually read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and I listened to the Bigger Pockets podcast. And for the next couple months, I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and I listened to every single Bigger Pockets episode, just taking in as much as I can and self-educating myself on the topic of real estate investing. So after a few months of self-educating, I had the itch. What? The real estate itch, that is. I wanted a rental property so bad, but remember, I was in college. I did not have a stable income whatsoever. I was doing a bunch of side businesses and I had little to no money at all. So that doesn't leave you with a lot of opportunities to purchase real estate. After reading the book on Low and No Money Down Investing by Brandon Turner, I actually ended up finding out that seller financing was going to be the way to go to purchase my first rental property. For those of you that do not know, seller financing is when the seller takes on the role of the lender. Instead of giving cash to the buyer, the seller extends enough credit to the buyer for the purchase price of the home minus any down payment. The buyer and seller sign a promissory note which contains the term of the loan. So instead of me going to a bank where they're going to require a W-2 and they're going to require at least 2 years of work history, which I had neither of, I can go to a seller that if I build enough rapport with and get on their good side, they will agree to actually finance and be the bank for me. So it's basically up to the seller after doing a credit check and background check to see if they were actually comfortable and if they trusted you enough to seller finance you a deal. So I went to work. I started searching for sale by owners on Zillow, Craigslist, for salebyowner.com, and I even sent out 100 mailers in the local area that I was in on a very, very limited budget. After about 2 months and a lot of convincing, I finally found someone that would, one, do a seller financing deal, and two, found a deal that actually made sense. So out of all the places I could have found this deal, I actually found it on Craigslist. It was a duplex in my college town and it was in relatively very good shape. At first, he wanted about $70,000 for this property, but after going back and forth, we were able to negotiate to $65,000. All right, so let's get into the numbers and the terms of this deal. So I ended up purchasing this property for $65,000 and I ended up putting $6,500 down on the property. So the seller financed $60,500 at a 5.5% interest rate over 25 years. And then there was a balloon payment at the end of 5 years. This monthly mortgage came out to about $372 every single month that I paid directly to the seller. Now, for those of you that do not know, a balloon payment is actually when the remaining loan balance is due. So basically, if I have a 5-year balloon, that means after paying off the loan in 5 years on that date, the rest of what I owe on that property is due to the seller. The reason being, I can go to the bank at that time after having a few years of work history and I can refinance, cash out the seller, and then I can have a bank. At the time of purchase, the rent coming in was $1,120 per month. Unit 1 was bringing in $575 and Unit 2 was bringing in $545. I'll break down the monthly expenses as well. So the monthly expenses end up totaling $639 a month. The mortgage was $372, taxes was about $170, insurance was about $45 a month, water was about $45 a month, and then a rental license of $7 a month. So if you take the rent that was coming in each month at $1,120 and you subtract the expenses of $639 every single month, you will be left over with $481 a month. That ends up being $5,772 every single year. But I just wanted to add that this does not include vacancy reserves or CapEx reserves for when something goes wrong in the property and you have a maintenance issue. So if you factor that in, it's going to be less each month that I'm actually bringing into my pockets. But for a $6,500 down payment, it really wasn't that bad at all. So we agreed to the terms, we went under contract, and now it's time for me to do my due diligence and get a home inspection. One thing I did not know at this time is that I could actually ask the seller to fix things that were on the inspection report that I found unsatisfactory. At the time, I did not know this. There was no realtors involved, and I did not have any clue that I could actually go and ask the seller to fix anything. So I didn't. And that is one of the many mistakes I made on this property. Purchasing this property was a very surreal experience because I had a ton of emotions of being scared, frightened, anxious, because I was putting a lot of money down, basically all the money I had down on this property, not knowing how to be a landlord, not ever having experience on this before. And it was such uncharted territories that I've not entered before. But I also had excitement, happiness, and accomplishment for doing something at such a young age and figuring out how to finance a deal when I have no job, no money, and am still in college. The last thing I want is for you to watch this video and think that my wife and I had it easy, that we found our property so fast and no property in your area would be able to purchase for $65,000, because that is a low purchase amount. But I just want to say that it took a lot and it was a very, very hard process for us. You know the saying that a blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while? Consider me the blind squirrel, and the only reason I found a nut is because I was fixated and only focused on finding a nut. Thank you to everybody that stayed to the end. I hope you found this informative. If you like this video, then you're going to love this video, which is where I actually found a cash flowing duplex and put $0 down on it. And let me tell you something, you can do this as well. So go check it out.